talking seized. They call it seized because the movie name Taken, that was already taken. And this one is directed by Isaac Florentine and stars Scott Adkins and Mario Van Peebles. Now this is, to be honest with you, a B-movie clone of the movie Taken. And what we have a character called Nero, played by Scott Adkins, who is an ex-CIA agent type, you know, shadowy type agent, best in his field, all of that sort of jazz, who is retired to Mexico with his young son, who, after the death of his wife, you know, is having trouble kind of settling down. However, his young son is kidnapped by Mario Van Peebles' drug cartel boss, and Scott Adkins' Nero character is then forced to go on a variety of hit missions to take out Mario Van Peebles', essentially his character's competition in the movie, other cartel members and things like that, in an increasingly difficult kind of shootout kind of situations, obviously with a threat of death to his son if he doesn't comply. What will happen? You have to watch the movie to find out. Okay, so let's talk about what works in this film. Scott Adkins seems to be pumping out these kind of straight-to-DVD action movies like there's no tomorrow. And, you know, they're very similar, let's be honest. We have a few gems in there like Avengement, but a lot of the time, I've got to be honest with you, they seem very run-of-the-mill. Plot-wise, this is true of this film. However, this film, I think, has a little bit of special sauce in it. And that special sauce is Mario Van Peebles and his character. Now, the interesting thing with this guy is he is the bad guy of the film, but he's a very interesting bad guy in the fact that his character is played to be not sympathetic exactly, because he is a bad guy, he is a cartel leader, but he is seen to have a code of honour, some type of redeeming qualities. That although he's, you know, what he wants to do is bad things, you still are interested in his character, and his character isn't quite as black and white as a lot of these kind of characters are sometimes. Now this is this is something that we've seen more in modern films, because older films didn't do this so much. You more or less had the good guys and you more or less had the bad guys, with very few exceptions. And I feel it's really modern films that have made this more of a shade of grey. But it doesn't happen every time. And I think it's one of a lot of people say, oh, modern films aren't as good. But to me, this is one of the most interesting aspects of modern films, is having these kind of like these grey-like characters. You know, Scott Adkins is a killer, he's our good guy. You know, and then this bad guy is, you know, he's the cartel member, but he has, you know, some sort of like redeeming features about him. Very interesting. And Mario Van Peebles, I mean, I've seen many of his films, but I've not seen him for a long time. He's so charismatic on screen. Really, really, I enjoy his scenes so much. And, you know, quite often it's just him looking at a video screen, sort of talking to Scott Adkins' character, you know, via radio and stuff, with these kind of minions behind him. But I just thought he was so kind of charming, and the way he kind of like interacts with his kind of like his goons and stuff like that, and they're all kind of cheering Scott Adkins' character. I thought it was very, very fun. But that's not all. I would say even some other bad guys are quite good as well. We have a couple of secondary bad guys. We have like a bad guy who is kind of related to Scott Adkins' past, is all I'm going to say. And although his character isn't particularly interesting, there's one thing I did like that they did there, and it's a little bit of a directorial flourish, where there's a scene where he is doing something quite bad, shall we say, and the camera just kind of focuses on his eyes, because his eyes are like unflinching while he is ultimately doing something pretty despicable. And it was just kind of like just showing you that how unflinchingly bad this guy is. I thought it was just a really neat kind of like little touch there that really kind of thought, now that is some stylistic filmmaking. Just that's one little nugget. And then we have this other cartel boss who is kind of like the the main rival of Mario Van Peebles' character. And again, we don't see a huge amount of him. He's not really until the kind of the last act of the movie. But his scenes, we get a little bit of kind of characterization with him. And he seems kind of like, you know, again, a cartel boss. But even in the short time that we see him, he still seems like he's kind of got somewhat layered in a way. And, you know, so you kind of want to know more about him. I thought that was good. The other thing, what else outside of that, obviously? Now, Scott Adkins, obviously, a very accomplished martial arts artist and actor at this point in regards to a lot of action films. And the fight scenes here are, you know, they are fantastic. Very well choreographed, very kind of hard-hitting. You know, a lot of the kind of the action sequences involving, you know, martial arts, extremely good, very, very well choreographed. And I enjoyed them. There are some secondary characters who I also enjoyed. I've mentioned a couple, but like Mario Van Peebles' girlfriend, I thought was quite a fun character. Even some of his kind of goons, just they don't have a lot to do, but they just seem like kind of interesting sort of characters here and stuff like that. And we go on these 3 different missions, ultimately leading up to the kind of the climax. So it gives it some variety in regards to locations and different obstacles Scott Adkins' character has to kind of overcome. And the conceit here is that Scott Adkins is having to wear a kind of a camera, so Mario Van Peebles can kind of see where he's kind of going all the time and stuff like that. So that was all quite good. What doesn't work? Unfortunately, this movie does fall into some of the kind of the cheap B-movie action film tropes here. For example, although as much as I like the martial arts and, you know, and one-on-one fight scenes, I feel the movie falls down a little bit on some of its gun battles, because as you do in a lot of these films, you get your kind of your minion bad guys literally run out from behind cover, shooting a gun and just getting killed, with our you know, Scott Adkins' character really not taking much in the way of any kind of damage and things like this. And it's just like a stormtrooper kind of style thing, if you know what I mean. So it comes across as a little bit silly, a little bit outdated in kind of those kind of aspects. And therefore, these kind of goons never really feel like much threat, but they just kind of throwaway villains just to kind of add up kind of a body count there. I have to say as well, some of the kind of as much as I do like some of the character work here and some of the acting by some of the kind of the more background players, there's equal amount as well that I feel don't do a particularly good job. In particular, the c.i.a. guys that kind of turn up, because they really overdo it in regards to let's look round at each other every kind of 5 seconds and look kind of ominous, like we know something's up, and they just keep doing it. I think, Jesus Christ, you're meant to be like the c.i.a., kind of like the shadow operatives, but you're so like blazingly kind of looking dodgy. It's just very, very silly. I mean, the other thing, the ramifications of what Scott Adkins doing, if we're kind of thinking about it, never really kind of comes to much. It's a little bit silly in regards to what he's doing. He's obviously walking into a nightclub, for example, with a bulletproof jacket on, where there's going to be various cameras and stuff like that. No one kind of takes anyone a while to kind of think, there's a guy with a bulletproof jacket's walked into our nightclub over there. Wonder what that's about, or any kind of blowback to come back from him, because there's clearly going to be cameras in these places and things like that, which is never addressed. So yeah, I mean, it's a cheesy action B movie that I would say would have been run of the mill outside of a great character performance from Mario Van Peebles' bad guy, and I enjoyed that side of it, I must say. So for me, it pushes it to a slightly above average film, because I think outside of that, it just is, it's serviceable, it's well made and well shot and choreographed, but outside of that, it's pretty average. But Mario Van Peebles' character just pops it above average for me with a 6 out of 10, because his character was so damn interesting and likeable. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.